नाज़रीन, वज़ीर-ए-आज़म इमरान खान ने चाइना टीवी CGTN को एक एक्सक्लूसिव इंटरव्यू दिया है, आपके साथ शेयर करेंगे।
Your Excellency, welcome to Beijing and welcome to The Point for a second time. You are here in Beijing to attend the opening ceremony for the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympic Games. What are your expectations for the Games?
Well, I spent almost 20 years of my life playing international sport. And ever since I've become the Prime Minister, I hardly have any time to watch sport, even on television. So this is going to be a great a holiday almost, a pleasure to really watch Winter Olympics in Beijing, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Great. I understand that it is also your first visit to China since the COVID-19 pandemic began in early 2020. Of course, you'll be having discussions with your counterparts, with the Chinese leadership. So what are the issues you would like to discuss or you are discussing with your Chinese counterparts?
Well, Pakistan and China's relationship is one of those unique relationships that's passed through the test of time. It's gone through all the difficult phases which China has gone through and Pakistan, but our relationship has withstood that time. And in fact, the relationship has got stronger. And right now, the Belt and Road initiative of President Xi Jinping and the CPEC being one of the main components of this great initiative. My idea is also when I meet the leadership, Premier Li and President Xi Jinping, the idea is to take this forward now. It started off with connectivity and power generation. Now we want it to move to the next stage, which is industrialization, which is information technology, and above all, agriculture, because agriculture is the mainstay of our country. Growing population, we need food security. So it's very important that we cooperate with China for improving the productivity of our agriculture.
I know that China and Pakistan has a very special relationship. Well, that's known to many people, to everybody around China and Pakistan, but to also a lot of people around the world. And it's called an all-weather strategic cooperative partnership. I am brothers in our way. So to the region, however, what kind of impact do you think this kind of relationship has brought to the region?
I think it's brought stability because because of a very powerful relationship, the whole region has basically been stable. We unfortunately right now Pakistan's problem, and I think to some extent China's, are with our big neighbor India. And I'm one of those people who firmly believes that we should resolve all our differences through political dialogue. But as I said, it's unfortunate that in India we have a government that is an extreme nationalist government. There hasn't been a government like this in India since our independence 74 years ago. And this government, unfortunately, we find it very difficult to move forward with it, specifically because of Kashmir. Now, Kashmir is our only issue with India, and rather than trying to resolve that issue, India has made things worse. So this is a problem, and I hope that sooner or later we will resolve it through political dialogue. But other than that, really, China and Pakistan's relationship has brought stability to the region.
Of course, Afghanistan is a common neighbor that is very important both to Pakistan and to China. What is the consensus between Pakistan and China on Afghanistan, and how can the two sides cooperate in this regard?
Well, firstly, it's about the people of Afghanistan. I mean, the consensus between Pakistan and China is that no nation has suffered like the people of Afghanistan. For 40 years, they've seen nothing but conflict. And this is the first time there is chance of peace, because there is no conflict going on right now in Afghanistan. But the problem right now is the prospect of a huge humanitarian crisis, because Afghanistan depended upon foreign aid. Until the Taliban government took over, 75% of the budget of the Afghanistan government came from foreign aid. So once that aid left, the whole government is in a serious state of a crisis. I mean, they cannot deliver the services because they don't have the money, and their foreign exchange reserves have been frozen. So what China and Pakistan, and I think a lot of countries, even the European countries, everyone agrees that somehow likes and dislikes of the Taliban government should be set aside, and the only thing in all our minds should be the almost 40 million people of Afghanistan. Half of them are in a very precarious position of food insecurity. There's a prospect of famine, of starvation, malnutrition. And so we agree that the top priority of everyone should be the people of Afghanistan, 40 million of Afghanistan. And as I said, half of them in an extremely vulnerable stage right now.
Indeed, that is the humanitarian concern that also China takes into its heart very much as Pakistan. Let's, of course, come back to talk about the bilateral economic relationship, that is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor Project, or CPEC, which has brought Pakistan direct investment from China totaling over $25 billion and created quite some jobs over the past 8 years. What do you think is the significance of this project for the economy and development of Pakistan?
It's extremely significant because the Chinese investment which came in for connectivity and then of course for power generation came at a very crucial time in Pakistan, because we were facing twin problems. One was we were involved in this war on terrorism, and this war on terrorism cost Pakistan probably more than any other country, apart from Afghanistan. Pakistan suffered more than any other country. We had almost 80,000 people dead, and we had, over $100 billion lost to the economy. Our currency lost half its value. And on top of it, we had two very corrupt governments, which also caused the financial crisis. So therefore, China came in at the most difficult time for us, which is also one of the reasons why there is such love for the people of China, because, a friend in need is one you always remember, a friend who comes in when you really are desperate, and which we were. Now the CPEC is going on to the second stage. And the second stage is, number one, is investment in our industrial zones, so industrialization. Number two, information technology. Pakistan is now giving great incentives for investment into our technology zones. And then number three, I mentioned before, is agriculture, because Pakistan basically is an agricultural country. And we really need help in investment in productivity in our agriculture. So we are already signing MOUs with Chinese companies which will be mutually beneficial. So the Chinese companies will also gain a lot from investment there, and Pakistan will gain from the technology transfer. So CPEC is now in this phase 2.
Great news, great news. Good to hear that. I understand that the year 2021 marked the 70th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and Pakistan. Chinese President Xi Jinping said the two countries should stand together more firmly, promote their all-weather strategic cooperative partnership, and build a closer China-Pakistan community with a shared future in the new era. So what are some areas where China-Pakistan ties can progress in the year 2022, of course, including the projects that you mentioned in CPEC?
Well, Pakistan's emphasis since my government has come in is on geoeconomics. We have so far concentrated more on geostrategic importance rather than the geoeconomics. And so geoeconomics means my government's priority is to lift our people out of poverty. We have, unfortunately, almost 25% of our population below the poverty line. And the main consideration is to lift them up. And the role model we have in mind is, of course, China. No country in human history has ever lifted so many people out of poverty in such a short space of time as China. Because from what we know, they've lifted almost 700 million people out of poverty in the last 35, 40 years. And President Xi Jinping just announced the end of extreme poverty in China. So this, for me, is one of the greatest achievements in the history of mankind. It's never happened in human history before. So my government's concentration is somehow to lift our people out of poverty. And the model we look to is China's model. And this is where we hope to really learn the most from China. How do we and we've had meetings on this before. How do we create wealth and then use that wealth to lift people on the bottom tier out of poverty?
Yeah, we hope that China's example, China's experience can provide some inspiration for countries such as Pakistan. And we wish you really the best in that regard. As we talk, we have a lot of things to celebrate, but the world really has been suffering from COVID-19 and the kind of economic downfall that the pandemic has caused to us. So cooperation is extremely important. How do you see the overall cooperation between China and Pakistan in terms of fighting the pandemic? And in what ways has China supported Pakistan in fighting the pandemic? And looking forward, what else do you think can be done?
Well, Pakistan, I'm very proud to say, is one of those few countries which coped with the pandemic better than the vast majority of the nations that were affected by the pandemic. We are considered amongst the top 3 countries which coped with the pandemic best of all. In other words, we saved our economy, and we also saved our people from the pandemic. Now, we learned a lot from China because as the pandemic spread, we immediately had very close contacts with China and learned a lot from the experience because it started in Wuhan city first of all, and then it went to other places. So we were in close cooperation. We learned a lot. We, of course, got when the vaccines came out, we of course got help from China, other countries too, but China helped us at that critical time. So fortunately, we are very pleased to say that we were one of the few countries that coped with the pandemic better than others.
Definitely, we hope that the situation will continue to improve and that we all walk out of this pandemic as soon as possible. Finally, in between China and Pakistan, we are good brothers, but Pakistan also has a good relationship with other countries, and Pakistan and the United States are also good friends, let's say. But some media are saying that Pakistan-US ties would face challenges due to rising tensions between China and the United States. What is your comment?
My comment is that the world does not need another Cold War. The world should not go through the situation where it's divided into 2 camps. And it does not benefit anyone. In fact, everyone suffers. But people gain if there's cooperation between the countries. We saw, in my lifetime, I saw the European Union came into being, and then we saw the standard of living of the entire European countries go up. So what I would say is that I hope that this does not escalate into another Cold War where we have to choose sides. We have good relationships with the US. We have probably what we call iron brother relationship with China. And we do not want there to be a situation where Pakistan has to say, look, if you are with China, then you have to cut off your relationship with other countries. In fact, what we want is Pakistan to play the role which it played in 1970 when Pakistan was instrumental in getting the United States and China together. The famous visit of Dr. Henry Kissinger was organized by Pakistan. So we hope to play that role. And my priority in Pakistan are the 220 million people in my country. And the only way my country, I will get my people out of poverty, the bottom tier out of poverty, is if we have economic well-being. And economic well-being comes with stability and peace. So if you have conflicts, the first thing that gets affected is your economy. And that's the last thing we want.
Indeed, peace is the message and is the aspiration for the whole world. Finally, Your Excellency, if you were to give a message to the Chinese people who are watching this, who love Pakistan as much as the other way around, what would it be?
Well, I want to wish the people of China happy Lunar Chinese New Year. And of course, it's the year of the tiger, which is my favorite animal. So I hope, this coming year brings peace and prosperity to China and the rest of the world.
The same wishes from the Chinese people to the people of Pakistan, to you personally as well. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, for accepting this interview. All the very best to you.